And welcome to another edition of the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. I am your host, Dougie Almeida from Greenville, South Carolina. Anyway, I'm here in Danger Studios, and I'm lucky to be joined by my two good friends, Mr. Jeffrey Gurian.
Hey, Dougie. Dustin.
And Dustin Chafin. What's up, fellas?
Hey, good to be here.
Good to see you, man.
Welcome back. Jeffrey, of course, a big part of the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. He was a regular weekly spot on our show with the unusual news, which was always a fantastic segment.
Yeah, we always had so much fun with that, Doug.
Yeah.
Always had lots of fun with that.
Great stories and, I mean, come on. And of course, Dustin, who I tracked, I chased him down in Greenwich Village. I kept trying to bug him to be my friend and book me for years. And he
thank God I don't do that anymore. My life, look how much younger I look. I mean, I do not recommend that for anybody.
Booking a comedy room can age you like a president.
It really can. It really can. Comics can be a little aggressive.
Yeah, I remember I'd have Dustin on the podcast. Like, let's talk about, bookings. Like, I'd rather not talk about. But
I escaped from New York. That's why I'm in LA. I had to get away from it all.
So you don't miss Greenwich Village Comedy Club, huh?
I miss New York comedy sometimes. When I try to go back, I'm, maybe a few times a year is what I plan on doing. But no, I really like it out here because I can kind of, just be a comic and kind of concentrate on my writing and stuff. I'm out here to sell a screenplay and all that. So I feel like, I'd rather be here. And I got a pool and, comics aren't harassing me. So
yeah, you can't beat that. The LA life is wonderful.
I like it. I do. A lot of people, don't like it. I dig it. It's fun.
It's got to be an incredible difference of going from a little apartment to the wide open spaces of California.
Oh, yeah. We went from 400 square feet to about 900, and we feel like, we don't have to say excuse me on the way to the kitchen, It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that's why whenever I would go to New York, people like, especially with comedy, like, are you going to move to New York? I'm like, listen, I love it for about a week or two, and then I got to get out. You know what I mean? It's just too much. Like at first, it's like, oh, it's great. I'm going to go downstairs and get something to eat. I'm going to go here, and I don't have to get a car. And then after a couple of weeks, you're like, I need to breathe.
I miss a little bit of the food. I definitely miss the pizza. They have a Joe's Pizza out here, but it's still not the same.
Yeah, it's never the same.
Yeah.
And Dougie, you left Florida, and now I'm looking for a place in Florida.
Well, you can have my old spot. You can.
He's got that shirt in the back. He's ready. Yeah.
I got a second. New York is just so crazy. Just people want to leave. I don't want to leave for good. I want to keep my place in New York, but I want to get a second place in Florida just to hang. Maybe
Smart.
I want to be in a place that has a clubhouse where I can produce shows. Because lately I've been producing shows at the Cutting Room in New York.
Very cool room.
And I like upscale venues rather than just like a regular comedy club. It's so much nicer. It's so much nicer when people can order dinner and drinks, and it's a real like the old time nightclubs. I really like that. So that's the kind of thing I want to do in Florida once in a while. That's my goal, to be in a place where I can do that.
Do you have a general idea what part of Florida you want to look at, or is?
I'm looking at 3 areas: Boca Del Rey and Boynton Beach.
That's kind of the same area. Just so you know, it's.
Come on, Jeffrey. You're too young for Boca. Come on,
yeah.
Jeffrey. You can't do that yet.
I'm not going to Century City, but people tell me that those areas. I don't really know Florida, man. I'm going by what people tell me. Like, what's a fun area?
Naples is cool. I like Naples. That was fun.
I don't even know. I used to go to South Beach, and I heard South Beach now is bad. It's taken over. A lot of crime, a lot of gangs. I don't want that. So I want to be in a gated community that has a clubhouse, because in those clubhouses they do shows, and that would be really cool. And there's a lot of comics that I know from New York who moved down to Florida. So I think there's like a vibrant comedy scene down there, and it's just something that I feel like I want to do.
Yeah, so, we were thinking about it. Like we were going to wait till the bubble bursts on the real estate market by next year.
Yeah, it's really high now. Yeah, it's really high. Prices are very high.
Looking about getting like a condo or something to keep our residents down there, and just go back in the winter kind of thing. But I got to tell you, the more I go back, I've missed it when we first moved here. I'm like, oh, I miss, Then I went back in July, And I got off the plane and I started sweating my cojones off. I'm like, oh, I do not miss this humidity. And then, of course, dealing with traffic. And then just once I got used to this area and how the people are, then I went back to Florida. Like I was just in Fort Myers on the West Coast, which is just north of Naples on the West Coast of Florida. And Fort Myers is like, like Naples is here, and then Fort Myers. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like the Clampetts left Fort Myers to go to Naples. You know what I mean? It's just one of those towns. But geez, I'm driving and people are cutting you off, and I kept saying, "This doesn't happen in Greenville. This doesn't happen in Greenville."
Yeah, I haven't seen one dick on the subway. It's been great. It's like
it happens in New York. I'll tell you that, man. New York it's in a crazy place right now. I've never seen it so bad. Things are really weird. Still so many stores out of business, a lot of restaurants out of business for good.
When did you get there, Jeffrey? When were you in New York? What year was you?
Oh, man, I moved to the city in 85, so I've been here a long time.
And was it rough in the 80s? I heard it was.
I'm always from New York. I was living in the 70s. No, things were great then. Okay. And just until the pandemic, I don't know if you know, I had COVID, double pneumonia. I was in the hospital. And when I got out, the pandemic changed everything in New York. People are just going crazy here. The main problem is the crime. They don't hold anybody. I'm sure you read about it. The guy, that woman pushed a woman into a moving train.
Yeah.
But it happens about once a week. Somebody gets thrown on the tracks. You can't go anywhere. I won't go on the subway. I drive every place I have to go, or else I don't go. I can't. You can't even take a bus.
Is like I always had a romanticism of New York, but the only movies I was watching was like The Warriors, Taxi Driver. These horrible crime-ridden movies, and I still was like, that place looks so cool. Look at the guy with his face painted and the Yankees hat, and the baseball bat. Like it was just this weird thing as a kid. I was like, oh, I got to get a vest and go to New York and be a warrior. I had no idea that it was real.
I grew up in the Bronx, and when you lived in the Bronx, going to Manhattan, people would actually get dressed up years ago. It was a big deal to go to Manhattan. Broadway shows and all. It was like if you grew up in a borough, Manhattan was something special. So I couldn't wait to move here. And when I moved here, man, as I said, it was great for a very long time. But until they change the administration, it's not going to be good. They have to get somebody who's going to be tough on crime and get these people off the street, because just attacking people at random, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Well, 85 must have been amazing for comedy. Like you were there when it was booming, baby.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All the clubs were happening, and
so cool. I missed that whole thing. I was like, I would love to, be a part of that.
Yeah, it was. Well, and at the time I was living half a block from Catch. Perfect. So I would spend my time between, and in those days, Louis Ferrando was the bartender at Catch. That's how far back that goes. And that's the year that Eddie Murphy discovered Chris Rock at the comic strip.
Nice.
So I wound up doing the book on the comic strip, and Chris wrote the introduction, and that was the story, that he was a 19-year-old kid, doing late night in exchange for setting up chairs in the club, and Eddie was the biggest star in the world. So in those days, it was just the Improv, Catch, and the comic strip that came along in 76.
And Dangerfields.
That's right. And unfortunately, I don't know if you know, Dustin, Dangerfields went out of business after 50 years.
Yeah. It was rough. I wrote a whole article on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still for rent. Nobody's touching the place. It's still for rent.
Really pissed me off because I just got past there in November.
That's how it always is. You know what I mean? You get past at a club and the bartender's booking it now. You're like, I should have tipped. But Dangerfields was one of the reasons I was okay leaving New York, because it was one of these weird places that I loved more than all the other clubs. And I'd pass the Cellar and all these clubs. And Dangerfields just, I don't know, there was something about the history of it, being the oldest club in Manhattan, and then all the stories. And Tony was great. He'd tell you Kinnison stories and all this, stuff about the club. I just loved it. I thought it was such a really cool place to do comedy, even though sometimes it'd be like 10 people. It was it still felt like showbiz. The waiters had red jackets on. They had the little lamps on the tables. I loved it.
I was writing for Rodney back in 1980.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
And so when I came back to the club in recent years, you know, they never changed it. It was just the way it was when Rodney was
That's what I love about it. Yeah.
I was sitting in his dressing room alone, just reminiscing, you know, just to be back there. And Tony walked by. You know, Tony was his partner since 1969, from when they started. And he said to me, Jeffrey, I can picture you sitting there with Rodney writing jokes together.
Nice.
And it was so amazing. It meant so much more to me than me saying to him, hey, Tony, do you remember me sitting here with Rodney? But the fact that he said that to me was really cool. And I was like, yeah, because we used to hang out backstage, just me and Rodney writing shit. And he would tell me jokes like he'd be like, Jeff, what's the difference between Jews and Italians? I said, I don't know, Rodney, what's the difference? He goes, they both take a leak in the sink, but the Jews take the dishes out first.
Yeah, that joke could be told today. You know,
it was, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was these days. Thank God for Chappelle, right? He's standing up to cancel culture.
Well, that leads us into one of our first topics of discussion with, thank you, Jeffrey. Always being
that was smooth. That was nice.
That's why the segue.
That's why I miss Jeffrey on the show, because otherwise I'm sitting there going, what the fuck do I do next?
How do I get there?
How much get into that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I just have such respect for those people that can't be canceled, like a Joe Rogan, like a Dave Chappelle. That's why we do what we do. We are the last bastions of freedom of speech. You know what I mean? And, when you watch that, and, I watched clips of the special. And, this is the second time he's done that, right? I think that one of the last specials he did, he was getting in trouble for, talking about gay people or something like that, right? And he had that famous line in the response. He goes, you can't say that word, He goes, well, you let me say the N word, And she goes, well, you're black, or something like that. He goes, well, he said, well, I ain't no nigger. You know what I mean? It was like, it was a great, and it was, because, that's the fear we have. People are so damn thin-skinned, and fickle that, but I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to see the little difference because, that people speaking out against it, meaning speaking for Dave Chappelle. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, everybody thinks this, everybody feels this. I don't have any ill will for any human being. I think everybody has the right to choose whatever they want to do. If somebody is gay, God bless them. That's who am I? I'm not. But that's I mean, well, there was that time in South Beach. I took some ecstasy, but that's different. Yeah, I'm not full fledged, but you know what I mean. What I'm saying? It's like. But to me, it's amazing that if a group of folks want to be treated equally and understood, then they really should also be able to understand the feelings of others.
Yeah, they never hear the entirety of the message in the joke. They always hear the buzz part of it. They always hear the gay part. They always hear something that feels offensive. But if you listen to the entire joke, he's doubling it, where it's just like, the hypocrisy in the joke. And that's what people don't learn from the joke. And they don't realize that, it's his way of making something heavy lighter. And so that's what comedy is. I mean, you can make a movie about Hitler and it's like Hitler was terrible, but people can go see Hitler being terrible and just leave. Why can't you just hear Dave Chappelle doing something you may not agree with, but he can still do it? You don't cancel the Hitler movie. You give it an Oscar because, it's like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think of Mel Brooks' History of the World.
Yeah. Oh my God. So funny. So funny.
There's only a couple of comics who are broaching controversial issues these days. And I like to mention, I also write about the comedy scene, and, Mark Normand and Andrew Schultz, man, they take on very controversial topics, but they're such good writers and they're so smart that they make the audience see the other side of it. Not everybody does that. I just talk about shit that I think is funny.
Yeah.
I don't put out a message, but there are some people that do, and I admire them. I mean, it's very tricky these days. I had a Chinese girlfriend for many years, and I used to do material, but it was like positive material. Like, Chinese people are the smartest people in the world. They have to be. They figured out how to speak Chinese, and so when there's Chinese people in the audience, they love it. I'm not making fun of them. I'm saying good stuff about them, that it's like, the Rubik's Cube of languages. But these days, sometimes I'm nervous to do it because people in the audience think that they have to make a sound when you do that. Oh, like that. And, you know, you have to have a comeback for it. I'll do it depending on the audience that I'm performing in front of. But who needs that kind of, you know, adversity?
Yeah.
I mean, I think audiences, it really varies on the audience. I remember one time I was at MIT, and we were doing this show where it was kind of celebrating kind of, you know, African American studies, and it was like people from people from Harvard and different associations, and it was like a really kind of high end African American thing, and they needed one white guy, and I was the guy. Probably not the best choice. And so it was Artie Fuqua, it was Harris Stanton, it was Will Sylvance, and, you know, we're all in there. And I got on stage, and, you know, I do this joke about being part Native American, and, you know, and then I just did this other part, and I said, at least black people got to travel. And it was like this whole thing, and, like, you know, everybody went crazy. I got booed for about 2 minutes, and, you know, it was this whole thing, and I was like, and then 3 weeks later, I did it on Showtime, on White Boys in the Hood, and I got an applause break in front of a black crowd, you know, that was there to see the so it's like, you know, each crowd is going to be different, and these people that are covering it, I don't know if you went down the wormhole on YouTube about these people, these reporters that were like kind of going in on it. I was like, oh, you don't have a sense of humor. This comedy's not for you. And that's the thing. A lot of people can't handle comedy. They don't know how to process it. You know, when somebody says, I don't like jazz, I was like, you know nothing about music. Same with comedy. It's like, if you get offended, you know nothing about comedy.
Yeah.
I had a very similar experience, Dustin. I was the opening night act for the Martin Luther King Comedy Festival in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
I love it already.
And you know what? So I was Patrice O'Neal's co-host on the Black Phillip show.
I remember
so
all that.
Very often, I'm the only white guy in the black crowd.
Sure.
So I went up and I did my thing, and I was about to end on my regular stuff, and I just saw an opportunity, and I said to the audience, "Are you guys into racial humor?" And they all said yes. And I did some material. I did some material on black girls' names, and they loved it. And so I left the stage, and I went to my seat, and then I went back on the stage, and I asked the host. I said, "I need the mic for a minute." And I said, "You know what? I really have to thank you people for being so cool and allowing me to do like that." Yes,
you people.
Really, I need to thank you guys for being so cool and allowing me to do that. I said, because I look at comedy as a healing force, and that brings us all together. When we can laugh at ourselves and at each other, people know when you're coming from a good place or when you're coming from a place of hatred. If you're an intelligent person, you use your intuition, and you know. And I wound up getting a standing ovation with that. And, you know, I did it because it was very important to me to say that. I wanted to thank them specifically because I did that in Atlanta. You know, I was in Atlanta. I did a show at the Improv, and I wanted to do another set. And I called Shauntae Wayans because she's a good friend. And the whole Wayans family came from Atlanta. So she calls me back and she goes, "I got your spot, but I don't know if you're going to want to do it." I'm like, "Where is it?" She goes, "Uptown Comedy Corner, Sunday night." She goes, "Even black comics are nervous to go there." I'm like, "I'm doing it." So I walked in. The entire club turned around to look at me. They told me afterwards, they thought I must have been a Hollywood agent because no white guys ever just walk in there. I did the material. I did my act, and I did that racial material. And I got a lot of laughs, but one woman in the back yelled out, "Shoot him."
That's a term of endearment, just so you know.
Yeah.
It's like when they call you stupid.
When I got off stage, these guys walked me to my car to make sure that I got there safe. But they liked the show. The whole audience really liked it, but this one woman yelled out, "Shoot him." That was it.
You like Dustin mentioned, there's trigger words. Like we were doing this in Vero Beach. It was a country club, right? So we kind of it. It was me, Lenny Travis, and a buddy of mine, Perry Sack. And
is that trigger with an A or trigger with an ER?
Yeah, ER. You know, I'm trying to be.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but it was, you know, we're a waspy crowd, you know, to be honest with you, and in a sense, but it was, everybody had coats, dinner before, and so Perry goes up, they're serving dinner. It's a brutal venue because they're serving dinner as he's up there. It was just tough, and nobody was even listening. Then I go up, and I tell a joke which is considered an anti-racist joke. It's like, like you said, it's friend of mine's racist, says, I can't believe the names black people name their kids, Lucretia, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's funny. You should say that, dick. It's an anti-racist joke. And I'm up there, and the guy, one of the main guys of the country club is like, oh my God, he's telling these jokes. There's black people here. And Lenny Travis goes, you want me to call security? And the guy just didn't recognize that it wasn't racist material. It's making fun, it's really dangerous when we do that, when you get nervous about telling a joke, because if you do get nervous, I found that it can become questionable, right? Like if you don't just do it full force, it has that look like you're nervous about doing it. Like I was just in El Paso, Texas, at the comic strip there, and I tell a joke, which is a wordplay with wet vac and wetback. You know what I mean? And it has nothing to do with Mexican joke, but they loved it. And I find that people with ethnicity don't have a problem with it. It's generally
people that are offended for them. Yeah.
It's just disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a way to do it. I think, I started off, I had people like Steve Marshall and Lisa Lampanelli would buy jokes from me and stuff. And so I feel like, I was around that Nick DiPaolo era of comedy, and people were taking these crazy risks and saying whatever the hell they wanted. And I think it has changed a little bit. If you want to get booked back to a room and not lose the crowd, there is a way. It's a little different. I see somebody like Steve Marshall, who I love dearly. I know we all do. And to see sometimes he'll just go at these crowds. I'll be like, I can't even believe that he's doing the same kind of material with this newer generation, but he's so committed to it. And just like with Jeffrey, it's like he has a message about it being, I love everybody. And it's like, I feel like if there's a message, or you have a way that you can kind of slide it in there and not make it offensive. And I also say, if you put something on yourself, like whenever I talk about race, I make fun of being from Texas, I make fun of rednecks, then I talk about other people. So I think that's the way to do it too, is put it on yourself first. You can't just be a guy that's just slamming every race and not make fun of yours.
You think that's that's an important part of it? Because I'll be self-deprecating in the beginning.
Yeah, I think so. Put it on yourself, absolutely.
Yeah, you make fun of yourself first, and then anything else. What Lisa Lampanelli did for many years. She would make fun of herself first, and then everybody in the audience, and they loved her. She made fun of gay people, and that was her biggest charity, was a gay charity, and they knew it, and the gay crowd loved her.
And everything rhymed, so things are less offensive when they rhyme. Seriously, like her material was always rhyming jokes.
Yeah,
that I never realized that, but that's an interesting point.
Yeah, I was thinking about what Chappelle was. One of the clips I saw was when he was talking about having sex with a woman who's transitioned or whatever they call it, and he goes, we know it's a vagina, but it's really not. It's not, and it's just like it's funny because that's like a question. It wouldn't be ignorant, or it wouldn't be bad, right, to ask somebody, like, let's say somebody asks another man, like, hey, would you have sex with somebody that you found out was a man at one time and now is a woman? Would you have sex, right? And if somebody says, nah, you can't call that person homophobic. You can't call them transphobic. You can't.
Yeah,
that's just.
Yeah, but if you don't tell me that you used to be a man, then that's deceit, and so that's on you. Like, I feel that's something that should be brought up right away. It's like your credit score, and you used to have a penis. Those are two things on a first date.
I had a guy send somebody to my house recently to this well-known producer is producing a feature script that I wrote. And this photographer sent this gorgeous girl to my house. And she was fantastic. She looked just like the part that I wrote. And I happened to look her up on the internet, and it says she's one of the top transgender models. But I would have never, ever known. No one could ever know. And when he found out, he was embarrassed that he didn't tell me. And I'm like, I was sitting there looking at her afterwards, and she was absolutely gorgeous, very tall, but just absolutely gorgeous. And I don't know if you saw it. There was an article in the paper recently, a few days ago. I cut it out.
Did you you cut it out? We're talking about.
Well, listen. Yes, a medical journal wants to refer to women as bodies with vaginas. I'm not making that up. And they got such flack for that they had to change the cover. But that was the concept, to refer to, how a lot of people, They want to refer to women as birthing people. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Birthing people. This is bodies with vaginas. It's out of control. It's ridiculous. And they want to change men and women to people. Now, even if you're trans, you're a trans man or a trans woman. What's wrong with saying men and women?
Well, they're
changing it to people, trans men and women. And
they just also announced in California, by the way, your new state there, Dustin, that toy stores are going to have a gender-neutral toy section.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
crazy.
know. I don't know. That's a lot. I mean, when I was a kid, it was Evel Knievel and Barbie, and neither one of them had genitalia. I mean, Barbie had boobs, that was it, But I don't know. The problem is we give they too much power. Whoever these people are that are making these decisions.
Yes, I always wonder about that. Who is that? They usually have 10 followers on Twitter.
It's kind of like people that run stand-up comedy. It's like, who are these people?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Right. Who's the they that they're afraid of?
picking people.
Yeah, I think it's crazy, and I always look at things as numbers, being a fiduciary, and if we're going to be, I look at that basically, in a sense, based on the global community, the gay community is anywhere between 5 to 7% of the population. Transgender is anywhere between 0.5% to 1% under that, and I just don't put that much credence in that small of a group of folks. You know what I mean? Like, do what you want. My nephew is transgender. He was born a girl, now he's a boy. God bless him. He needs help, anything like that. And I know there's challenges to it. So, I always say, God bless all the things you're going through and what that must be like. I don't know. But you know what I mean? But at the same time, if I'm, as a human being, if somebody walks in the room who's like, was it Miss Nevada? Somebody who won Miss Nevada or Miss Arizona, she was trans, and I'm like, God dang, that's fantastic. Because think about the woman who came in second place. You know what I mean? It's like you got beat by a dude. You know what I mean? And I applaud that. I'm like, holy shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's the ones that when they walk in and they're like, and it's like, you can't, like, if you want me to really go along with it, I mean, that's where
I hear what you're saying, but you should still be able to make fun of it. We grew up on MASH. Klinger was a punchline, so it's like he had the wig and the dress, and like, so a lot of it is it's like Chappelle can talk about whatever he wants. He's the next George Carlin. He's one of the best we have. And speaking of George Carlin, I remember I saw George Carlin working out a special in Vegas. He walked 15 people because he was doing like religious material, and then he just yells at them as they're walking out the door. How do you not know what I do? And he's like, but everybody gets offended. Who gives a shit? Do whatever you want. I think just if you make them laugh, who cares? If like who's ever watching like Dave Chappelle and watching that audience, if that audience is laughing, he's doing it right. Now, if everybody, I don't know.
They did have one of the videos I watched. They showed some lady, looked like a woman in the audience, just like she was just sitting there.
I mean, there's always that person,
Yeah, like what the fuck?
And that's the person you concentrate on in comedy.
Isn't that true? Why is that? Somebody posted that, and we were just talking to other comics. Like, everybody in the room could be laughing, but that one person sitting in the audience, like, you just look at them and you're like, fucker. What's wrong with this person?
I think one day you get over that, you become a better comic. I think that's a bad club habit. You know what I mean? We all have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see these guys, like he was talking about Mark Norman, Schultz, they don't give a shit about anybody. That's why they're successful. It's like once you concentrate, we're all concentrating on that one guy. It's like, you got to get over that.
I basically ignore the crowd.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think that's
I don't do crowd work because when you do that, very often you open yourself up to heckling. Because as soon as you start engaging, some drunk schmuck thinks that you want him to yell out to you or engage you in conversation.
I mean, sometimes it's helpful if you're in a crowd that's tight. I know Dougie and I do it a little bit, and it's depends on the crowd. But
no, if you're a host, it's good to warm up the audience. I was at a show recently. I did a show.
We do more headlining, but anyway. We don't shine shoes no more, Tony.
Shine box.
I was doing a show recently where a 50-year-old woman came in and she was already drunk, and she was with two female friends and they were all drunk. And from the time she sat down, she was yelling out shit. And when the host came up on the stage, instead of telling her to be quiet, he engaged her, which was a very big mistake. And she ruined his whole act. It got to the point where he was saying to her, shut the fuck up. And she just wouldn't be quiet. She was giving him 2 fingers like this. The first comic comes on the stage and she does the same thing now because she thinks she's encouraged and she thinks she's being funny, and she's ruining the whole show. And the host says to me, are you ready to handle that woman? And I'm sitting there, I'm fucking furious because I'm like, we all work so hard on our sets, and I'm not going to let some drunk fool mess up my set. And I said to him, I'm not going to handle it. I'm just not going to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I went up there. She ruined the first 2. I went up there and the woman didn't make a peep. I did my whole set and she didn't make one fucking sound. And when I came off, they said, how'd you do that? And I said, I think she felt that from me, that I was not going to handle that. People are very sensitive to energy. You know, as a comic, we work off the energy of the room and people can feel that. And I really feel like that she saw that there was no way I was going to deal with that with her. And I don't engage that kind of stuff, and it worked out great.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to own your space when you're on the stage, own your power.
Yeah,
don't get away.
We had a guy in Fort Myers at Laugh-In this weekend. Sean Jones was headlining, and he was just like yelling stuff out during the show and stuff, and I dealt with it for a bit and I handled it, made it laugh, and then he kept doing it. And Sean just kept destroying the guy, and even got to the point like, you lost, dude. Like, people are laughing at you, at this point. He's like, he just didn't care. So he went outside to get a smoke. When the other guy was on stage, I was out there. He's like, I know that makes things better. I'm like, hey, man, here's a little note. If your face isn't on the show flyer, nobody came to hear or see you. You know what I mean? Just keep that simple.
I always, whenever I headline a club, I always say, look, I'm going to give you like a code word. If I say, hey man, could I get a Diet Pepsi or something, that means throw this guy out. Right. So it's like, it's important that the comics have to know that this could happen. So I always make an arrangement with the security or whoever. But a lot of these clubs are too cheap to have security. That's a lot of the problems,
Yeah, that's another thing. A lot of clubs don't have security. I did one thing once that really worked for me. I stopped the show and I introduced the heckler. I said, ladies and gentlemen, we have a famous heckler in the house. And he's been heckling for many years. Sir, how long have you been heckling? Stand up. And then that shut him up. But most of the time, I don't get anything like that. Because I don't stop a minute. When I hit the stage, I come on with a lot of energy. Some people come on very slow and they it's almost like they're welcoming hecklers. I don't think you can engage.
Well, not always. I mean, somebody like Sam Morril isn't welcoming hecklers. He just has a slow energy. Like that's just what he does. Some guys is different,
Yeah, he's a sharp comic.
Yeah, crowds are just dicks. Let's just, a lot of times they're too drunk. That's part of the problem. It's like,
That's it.
It's like here's the thing. Yeah, we force alcohol. We're like, you better behave. Okay, but buy 2 drinks. Like it's a setup. We create the whole problem. Yeah. We're like, I can't believe they're talking. Get your shots. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I think it is interesting to have that, because a lot of clubs will say, well, these are my regulars. I'm like, well, fuck, like that guy said when I was talking to him, he goes, I'm never coming back. I'm like, listen, as a comic, I don't give a shit if you ever came to another show, if that's the way you're going to be. You know what I mean?
You promise? Yeah, make the guy promise.
Exactly.
I'll never come back.
Exactly. Well, let's move on to the next topic. This is interesting. I don't have any kids. I don't know, Dustin, you don't have any kids?
No. I have kids.
I have kids. But the school board situation, I thought it was interesting, the craziness we're seeing in school boards. You know what I mean? A lot of this stuff came out when they brought out critical race theory, and parents were pissed, and it even got to the point where parents found out there's books that the kids were reading about homosexuality and stuff, and parents like, listen, you know what I mean? That's something I'd rather go over with my kid, and that's all great if you do it, but if you don't, then, kind of thing. But basically, the concern now has been that the school board now is trying to scare people to come to school board meetings by threatening the FBI and getting them checked out and looked at. I don't want to get, in a sense, political. I mean, listen, I mean, you guys talked about de Blasio. I think we can all agree de Blasio is a putz.
The worst mayor of all time.
Oh, yeah.
He's ruined the city.
Right. Now, obviously, I am Republican, and I was not happy about the Biden win, and I know how people feel about Trump. The only thing good about Biden is he's screwing up so bad that he's kind of paving the way for Republicans in the next few elections. Now, but what I am concerned about is this. When you go to a school board, you get to call the FBI when people are just not happy. Do you think parents should be able attending school boards and be able to be upset with this? I mean, I don't know if you're following this thing that's going on, but
I follow it very closely.
Yeah.
Very, very closely.
What are they against? Like what's being taught, like certain things, or what?
Parents are in an uproar. They're teaching white children to be embarrassed for being white, that they're systemically racist, and they're dividing kids into groups so that they start hating each other in school, which is ridiculous. And the parents have a right to say what's being taught. And in some states, they're saying that the parents have no right to interfere in what's being taught. The parents have every right to interfere. You don't want your children being taught things that are incorrect, and that are making children feel different or guilty about themselves.
Right.
No one asked to be white any more than anyone asked to be black or any other race. You got what you get, whoever your parents were. And, and it's a terrible thing to threaten parents with the FBI is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's the direction that our country is going in, and it's very scary. Censorship, you can't say anything. They want to check your banks. If you make over $600 deposit, they're going to follow your money. Come on. I mean, where are we going? Whoever thought that America, that could happen in the United States of America?
Aside from
and why do these people even want that? What's the attraction to socialism or communism? I don't get it.
Well,
how so much of the country is open to that.
Well, the problem is that they've been in the last decade or so, they've been demonizing two people, the wealthy and those who are of faith. We've seen demonization of that. And, and these young people, and it's always the young people. Whenever I watch these things on social media, like, this country sucks, they probably never left their own borough or their own city. They always say how bad this country is. Meanwhile, they've never stepped foot out of this country. And, so you have that. And it's always these young people who have never acquired anything. They've been living off their parents and that kind of shit. So they want the government to do the same thing. And, aside from censorship, it's about conformity, which kind of leads into the mandates. You know what I mean? And again, like somebody asked me if I'm vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated. It's not because I think it's going to put shit in my body. It is. I'm not vaccinated because I've had COVID. So my doctor has said to me, you don't have to. I believe you got natural immunity. So, and the problem that this country is now having is that the current administration is demonizing those who feel that they don't want to have it for their own relief, your own freedom of choice to try to push something. Look what happened. Southwest Airlines, I flew it this weekend. Thank God I got to where I was going. Thousands of flights canceled.
2,000 flights were canceled.
Right, supposedly because of weather, which was bullshit, because in the old days you can get away with that. Now people are looking at their app going, weather's fucking fine. What are you talking about, weather? You know what I mean? And
staff shortages is what they said today.
Yeah.
On Newsmax, if you watch Newsmax, where they only tell the truth, they told you that they claimed that it was the weather, but it was really staff shortages. And I'll tell you something else. A friend of mine from Canada called me. I'm vaxxed, even though I had COVID, and I was in the hospital with COVID. Were you very sick, Dougie, or did you get a mild case?
Yeah, I only lost my sense of smell, which made 2020 the year for ass eaters. Just want to make sure.
Well, my cardiologist told me to get the shot anyway, even though I was in the hospital with COVID, double pneumonia. I was really sick. And they gave me hydroxychloroquine, and that saved me. And I talk about that every time I'm on anything. I had put myself on ZPAC because on the third day that I was sick, it went to my throat. And whenever I get a cold or anything, I was hoping it was just a cold. I keep antibiotics in the house. I didn't remember that ZPAC also protects your lungs. And you're supposed to take it for 5 days. I stayed on it for 10 days because I was getting sicker and sicker. I was sick for 2 weeks before I had to call an ambulance because I couldn't take it anymore, because it was at the height of the pandemic, and they were warning people to stay away from the emergency room because you could get even sicker by going there.
Yeah,
But by the time, I just couldn't wait anymore. I was that sick.
now
And
have you been vaccinated, Dustin?
I have, and I didn't get COVID. I also feel a lot of comedians did pretty well with the situation. And it was funny. Brad Paisley was talking to a friend of mine, and they were talking about how entertainers are somewhat almost immune because we're around so many people. So I feel like maybe I got more spots than you guys. That's why I didn't catch COVID. But but I feel like, well, back to the school thing. It's like, yeah, the education system is ridiculous, and the things we teach, I didn't learn anything in school. I wish they should be teaching things like how to financial planning, how to
Yes,
and
exactly.
maybe zeroing in on when somebody's good at something, maybe pushing them in that direction instead of if you catch a kid tagging a wall, maybe send them to art school. You know what I mean? Like, find a way to kind of motivate people to be good at what they're naturally talented in. And I think that's a problem. And being somebody whose grandfather lived his life and died on an Indian reservation in Oklahoma, it's the way the Indians and the Native Americans were portrayed in the history books were just ridiculous. I mean, as a kid, I just thought, oh, everybody got along, they ate turkey together. That's not what happened at all. So I think there definitely needs to be more openness to kind of how things are taught. I think that definitely the books now are it's very zeroed in, and the fact that Republican, Democrat, I don't give a shit about that. And the thing is, you should keep prayer out of school. It should just be very neutral. But at the same time, we need to teach other things.
A lot of the problems, a lot of complaints are that the teachers are pressing their ideology on the students.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen at all.
You see these videos of people going, your Trump is this or this or that, and you're like, look, man, you know what I mean? If I had a child and they came to me and said that, hey, the teacher was telling my kid about one politician over the other, I would have her fired. I mean, like, hey, man, who the fuck are you? Like, I don't. Unless this is a civics class, teach the basics. You should not be talking about what's happening now. You can make references of it, but you should not be favoring one side or the other. But these, and these liberal arts colleges, like when I went to college, it's like what I realized, like, holy shit, are all my teachers atheists? Because I took a lot of philosophy courses too. So they were telling me, I remember when I got out of when I was my third year of college, I remember going home and I remember talking to one of my dad's friends who was very patriotic, was a veteran and stuff. And I'm like, well, this country sucks. We puppet other countries and we fucking manipulate. And he's like, shut the fuck up, you little punk. You know what I mean? I can remember because I was a know-it-all. You know what I mean? What I mean? And you see this in the youth today, but it's just crazy. And I just think that it's time, like everything. Politicians, these school boards. There's career people in those positions. They need to be pushed. There needs to be congressional limits, term limits. We got to get these people that are just sucking up the power and living off it, and it's just horrible.
Also, we as a community, we need to mentor more. We need to find ways to help the youth as a whole. It can't just be the teachers. You can't just leave them in charge of all our kids' ideas and thoughts. We have to help as a community, and that's what nobody's doing. Yeah. Nobody's going out of their way to help. And, the boys clubs, I was at a boys club and, my parents were having some problems and stuff. And I learned to box there and I got a sense of discipline. And, it's like it changed my life. And it's like if I hadn't had that, I think it would have gone down a different path,
One of the things I want to touch on what Jeffrey said earlier was, with this critical race theory is that, white people are thought to be, they're all, they're just wrong and they're racist, this and that. But it's also, this critical race theory is also teaching black kids that they're victims. And that, you mentioned the Boys Clubs of America. I was a member of that. And I used to mentored young men at the Boys Clubs of America when I was in my early 20s. That's great. And I mentored 3 young black men. And to me, it was always, they were, you guys have it. I'm like, hey, man, my lesson was that. I'm like, don't believe that shit. I go, you got a million reasons. Everybody has a million reasons to fail in everything they want to do. There's only one reason you're going to succeed, and that's you and your personal drive and your beliefs in yourself. So if you buy into all this shit, it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter any of that stuff. You buy into it, that's where you're going. And that was the disheartening thing I would see. It's like one of the kids, Arthur's parents were like, oh, you ain't ever going to be shit. You're going to be like your brothers and this and that. And I was like, fucking, how could a parent do that? It was just amazing to me.
Yeah. Too many parents do that. And it's very important to have support at home. And that's one of the main problems. Too many broken homes, too many single mothers raising kids. When that happens, kids very often grow up angry. You know, kids need support.
A lot of
Kids need
stealth sex.
Yeah, thank you, Dustin. Thank you.
That's another good segue. I have to tell you this story. Elaine Boozler once told me this story. The first time Jerry Seinfeld was on stage, she was emceeing at Catch a Rising Star, and it was Jerry's first night on stage, and he forgot all his material. All he remembered was his topics. So he got up there and he said, driving, the beach, whatever. And she goes, that was the master of segues, Jerry Seinfeld. That's all he had was segues. He didn't remember his material. Well, and it just came to me when we were talking about that.
Well, California also in the news announced that stealthing is now going to be an offense. It's going to be the first state to outlaw stealthing. Now, outlawing, but stealthing is, now you understand what this is, right, Dustin? You know what this stealthing is.
Yeah. That's why I made the joke.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That's why I popped you into, I know what's going on. Come on,
stealthing, I think in my entire life I've only done it once. Whereas, no, as a man, I can easily say I don't think many men like the feeling of condoms. Unless they suffer from PE, then sometimes the condom kind of keeps you from doing that. But it's not the real thing, baby, as one woman told me once. And, and that stealthing means in the middle of the act, you kind of slip it off without anybody knowing.
That's not cool. That's not cool. Nobody should do that. I mean, if it breaks, that's the thing. You've got to be like, how many stealth situations were really, or break situations were stealth, like, hey, it broke, So it's hard to figure it out. Who's going to investigate that?
Could you imagine the people's court, like in Judge Judy or something, they have a case of stealthing, and the guy's like, look, man, I didn't stealth it. My dick's just so big, I broke the goddamn condom. I didn't know it was broken. I thought it felt a little warmer, but I wasn't sure.
Let's make that short. I like
it. It's like having a disease and not telling your partner.
I think so, yeah. I mean, especially if you have something, that is an offense. Like if you have something that is contagious, then that's assault.
Right, and you give it to somebody else.
That's not right. That's not right.
I don't think people take it seriously enough about the problem of pregnancy. As a father, it's a huge responsibility to have a child. Yeah. You can't just keep making women pregnant all over and then leaving like it's nothing. A lot of teenage girls who want to get pregnant, they look forward to something like that. It's one of the main problems of our society. It's really bad. And I can't see why guys would even want to take a chance and do that.
And also, I have a phone that is a computer in my hand. You can't make a condom feel better at this point in 2022. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think we can. Yeah, come on, man. We can't make a condom feel a little bit better. I think we could do that. We can.
Ultra thin, yeah.
We have robots that could do somersaults. Why can't we have a condom?
A condom feels a little bit better, I don't know. I think we can figure that out.
I mean, I hate condoms so much. That's why I got married. I want to fuck around.
Oh, you mean your wife trusts you? You don't have to use a condom? That's great.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I just didn't want to fuck around. Who wants to come home with that was. I remember being single. That if you ever caught something, you're like, who are you going to blame?
Yeah. Well, IUD, man. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Put it on.
I just think it'd be amazing to prove it. It's a law. Laws are great, but you have to be able to, for a law to be effective, it has to be. I think Jeffrey's putting his condom on now.
He's podcast with a condom. He's stealthing us right now. He's taking it off, actually.
Halfway through the podcast, Jeffrey removes his condom and doesn't tell anybody.
Well, it's a very exciting podcast. I couldn't help it.
It really is.
It held back too.
Yeah.
All right. To wrap up the topic segment, if you guys had the attention of the world for just 10 seconds, what would you say?
The attention of the world for 10 seconds?
10 seconds.
Be kind. Don't litter. Learn how to take a joke. Call your parents.
Mm-hmm.
People you love. People you love.
I approach the world that way. I love everybody until they teach me not to. So stop being so offended. Just relax and chill and try and enjoy this life that we're given. It's a blessing.
Yeah, and watch Squid Games. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good show. Oh, it's fantastic. It's phenomenal. Best show.
I can't get through the first episode. There's something about it. better. Maybe it gets better after the
Well,
second one.
you don't like reading, maybe. I don't know. Some people don't like subtitles, but I love
That
it.
can be frustrating. It definitely can be
Don't
frustrating.
do the dubbing. You got to do subtitles. It says a lot about society, though. It's actually a really deep show. It's good.
Well, that being said, I probably would just say something like lighten up, worry about yourself, don't worry about me. I think that's the key. I think so many people are so worried about the actions of other people that they're neglectful in their own actions. You know, the hypocrisy nowadays is amazing. You know, when people, everybody's so righteous. No, I'm gonna do this, and then you look at their everyday life and they break code countless times.
Yeah.
It's just like, enough. Worry about yourself. Don't worry about me.
Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of pay it forward, man. Like, we need to take care of each other, but and just keep that moving and stuff. I don't know. Like, you've always been nice to comics and stuff. It's like it's like you have to be, because people are so shitty to us. It's like, I don't know.
Be grateful for the things that you have.
Yeah.
Someone told me, I heard, happiness is wanting what you already have. And that's an interesting concept to me. I write books about happiness, and
that's not easy, though. I mean, I have friends that are like famous and they're millionaires, and it's tough.
It takes a lot of work.
It does, yeah.
A lot of work.
It's
therapy,
easy. Right?
Therapy. Put that in there. People need therapy.
It's definitely easy, right? To always be chasing the rabbit, as they say.
It is.
You never content, and that's a good way to do it. All right, it's time. By the way, I forgot to do something here. These are things that you should know. I find this important. Hundreds of thousands of troops defy vaccine mandate. These vaccine mandates is a lot of people. We're going to see more and more of this. That people saying, "Fuck you! I'm not going to force the mandate," thus causing more of this inflationary situation and troubles, flights delayed, all kinds of stuff.
I'll tell you a quick thing. I got a call yesterday. A girl was supposed to come visit me this weekend, and her sister passed away yesterday from the second shot of COVID. The COVID vaccine. She got one of the in Canada, one of the mRNA shots. She's 49 years old. She got a blood clot that went to her heart, and she died. And I've been hearing a lot of stories like that, and it's really crazy because I got the vaccine. My family got it. I'm not against the vaccine, but they're not telling us the truth. There's a clotting problem.
Yeah.
And there's a clotting problem with COVID. And luckily, it sounds weird to say, but luckily I had a heart attack 5 years ago, and I've been on blood thinners the whole time. And it was just by accident, because nobody knew in the beginning that COVID can cause blood clotting. So I think there's a lot of information that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Pfizer seems better than, I think it was Moderna that was causing the problems, I think. Or Johnson,
I got J&J. I don't know. My doctor said that I'm going to get a reaction no matter what I take, so I got the J&J.
I don't know. I did cocaine for about 10 years. I don't think the vaccine's going to hurt me. I've done so many bad things to my body. It's like, okay, I think I'll be okay. And I eat a salad once in a while. I'll be all right.
Yeah.
What happened?
That's the key. Salad is what
it is. Eat something green. Keep you healthy.
Absolutely. I do it every day.
Do you guys see me? I don't see you.
We see you,
Chris,
yeah.
Chris, are you there? Are we still good? You're going to have to edit this a little bit out.
I see you.
We see you.
All right.
Great. You got a red shirt on? We see you.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to just trudge through this. So, all right. So the other thing we all need to know is that the southern border is wide open again, and red states pulled National Guard. It seems like a lot of red states are bringing their National Guard now. They are no longer there. Hold on a second. Chris just texted me. Let me see what's going on. You're fine. Okay, good. And the last thing we all need to know, Biden administration lobbies to allow the IRS to monitor personal business bank transactions over $600, as Jeffrey mentioned, which is, people used to call Trump a tyrant. He was all these kind of things. But I mean, when the federal government, two things now, right? When they're going to weaponize the FBI to scare the shit out of people to go into PTA meetings, and now you want to try to bring in, monitor what comes in and out of my bank account, and people are not concerned about that. That's very.
Hiring 80,000 agents, Dougie, 80,000 IRS agents to start monitoring everybody's bank accounts. If you put in 600 or take out more than 600, They want to know everything about it. You know that I went into Citibank. I don't know how I got this stupid bill for $1.19 on a credit card that I don't use. I went in with $1.19 and Citibank wouldn't take it. They said, we can't take cash like that. We have to put it into your checking account and then take it back out. So we show a record. I don't know what drug dealers are coming in with $1.19, but it's supposed to be to prevent drug, laundering drug money.
Yeah. Well, I'm just grateful that I'm grateful I'm a $500 headliner, so I don't have to worry about this. I play shitty clubs, so I'm going to be safe. I'm going to be safe. I worked with Al Martin for years. I'm going to be safe. There's not going to be more than 500. I'll tell you that.
Stay at that level, right?
Yeah, it keeps you there. Keeps you safe.
It's almost to the point where I'm going to pay you $599 to avoid getting the 1099. But yeah, things are concerning. All right, now it's time to the news is a joke. Let's go over some of these stories, which I have gone through. Police searching for man who allegedly took dirty diapers from Toronto daycare.
I'll tell you what disturbed me about that story. First of all, it's such a sick story, but they found out it wasn't a man. It was a young boy, and they took his name out. You're not allowed to say, if you're under a certain age, they don't say your name and who you are. Mm-hmm. Which I think is wrong, because there are a lot of young criminals out there. In New York City, 16-year-olds are shooting each other and younger.
Right.
And I don't see any reason to hide their names. So this kid who stole these dirty diapers, I don't know who would want to do such a stupid thing, but they took there was a special piece at the end of that article, if you noticed, where it said they decided to take the picture out of the guy because they realized he was young.
Yeah,
makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, just when you think something couldn't be sexual, somebody makes something, like this. I assume it's sexual. Like, what else, It's not like you can sell dirty diapers, you know what I mean? I'm sure it's some sort of weird, probably has a OnlyFans page at this point. But it's like, I guess people are, I just found out the other day what tentacle porn was. So people are into some weird stuff. So maybe that's his thing. Maybe he's German.
In Japan, they actually have vending machines that sell panties.
Yeah, they do.
So people are into all kinds of. I don't know about dirty diapers. I never heard that one.
I'm sure some young
people are into poop. Yeah.
There's some scat videos being. Now I'm sure there's some kid in Toronto that said, if you put your dick in a dirty diaper, it feels just like the real thing.
Oh, jeez.
And there you go.
You know what? Kids
like anal.
Yeah. Just get you used to anal.
It's too sick. I can't even deal with it.
Yeah.
I may not sleep again.
This is a great story. A BC woman awakes to a hole in her roof and a space rock on her pillow, which she then quickly took a straw and snorted the fucking rock and put it in her crack pipe.
I read about that. It just missed her head. But, I recently read this book. I brought it to show you guys, Making Contact. And it says that there are aliens that are living inside the Earth.
Yeah.
Inside of our planet. Nice. And there are 3 types of them. And these are scientists. This is not like lunatics. Yeah. These are scientists that claim that they're aware of this already. The government doesn't tell us that. But it's a whole book of people like scientists telling stories about this. And there are 3 groups. They live in the core of the Earth, not where it's really hot, but underground. Yeah. And I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, I think 2 things. I think she needs a better roof. I don't know what kind of roof situation she has. And secondly, I bet she makes $5,000 on eBay. So,
At least. Back when that meteorite hit Russia a few years ago, remember that meteorite that landed in Russia?
Yeah.
People that got that, government will come and try to find that rock off away.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you can get a lot. But could you imagine? It's like
that's a rough night. You're like, what the?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Yeah.
I think that is a fascinating theory, the inner Earth theory. And I think a few years ago, the former defense secretary of Canada came out and admitted that. One of the first real government high-ranking officials of the G7 came out and said that there are aliens. There's the tall whites. There's the,
I think there's aliens. I think they're all in the ocean. I think that's where it all comes from. I think that's, I don't know if you saw The Abyss, but that's, I believe.
Yeah, you remember that great movie, by the way. And Yeah, but they say that they fly in on the polar caps where nobody can really monitor it. There's a big hole up there, and they come through, and then in the ocean, where who's out there watching the ocean?
I mean, if you ever watch an octopus, that's an alien, man. That thing is.
I think so. I think a squid.
Yeah, that's just like, come on, dude. That thing lives somewhere else, and now they're in the ocean. Yeah, absolutely.
It's translucent. I mean,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, one of the concepts is that life on Earth was given to us by an alien race, because they said our DNA code is so complicated that they don't feel that it could have happened by accident. That our code is so incredible, they can't duplicate it. And they said there had to be a natural intelligence behind it. It couldn't have just happened by itself. That some higher race of beings, probably the ones that built the pyramids and the Sphinx and all. I have a friend who's a geologist who told me that the Sphinx is actually 15,000 years old, at least. He said that there are watermarks on the side of the Sphinx, which means that it was submerged in water, and there hasn't been water on the desert for 15,000 years. But Egypt wants to claim that it's 5,000 years old, so they can say that they built them.
Yeah, and they also found some Botox and needle marks in the Sphinx.
Yeah. I just think those things are amazing. I have a very strong connection to ancient Egypt. And I actually met the guy. There's a man named J.J. Hertak who works with governments all over the world. And he claims that he's been in a spaceship, that he was abducted. And I got to meet this guy. They were filming him for a special. And I got to be one of 5 people who was there. And he told me that there are aliens that are living amongst us. Most of them are in Brazil. He said the good ones are the ones that are keeping us from having nuclear war. And the bad ones are the ones that are fomenting trouble around the globe. And again, I thought that was very interesting.
They all watch Fox News. Okay.
All of them.
Yeah. And then
Carlin is an alien.
The real low-life aliens that are trying to fuck things up are just hecklers at comedy shows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's a great story. Parents want high school principal removed for listening to Iron Maiden. Students rally behind her, and who wouldn't? Iron Maiden, one of my top rock bands. Flight of the Icarus. Die with your boots on. That's again judging. We're talking about woke people.
Is he playing it during class? Like, what's?
It's a woman.
Is this in his car? They're like coming at him. Like, where's this being played? Where's it being played? Oh, it's a woman.
Yeah.
Where's it being played?
It's not a guy. On her own time.
Yeah, it's not like she's like.
Oh, like it's a religious, like he's Satan music or something.
Yeah, they say that.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
There was a picture of her posing with a satanic symbol.
Oh,
so the
okay.
parents freaked out.
Iron Maiden. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is this still happening? What the? Come on. Is this?
I mean,
I wonder what they would think if she was into hip hop.
Who doesn't love Eddie? You gotta love Eddie.
Yeah, come on. I remember being a kid burning our Kiss albums in a church parking lot in Texas, They thought Kiss was like Night in Satan's Service and the 4-minute apocalypse. And it was this whole thing, man. I was like, dude, it's just 4 dudes from, four Jews from Queens that just were kind of ugly and found a way to be rock stars and put on makeup. And it's like, calm down.
Average musicians.
Found a way to get in it because watched a lot of Alice Cooper.
It's funny that you said that. King, I was always told it was kings in service for Satan.
Yeah, knights and whatever. It's always bullshit.
Crazy shit. But it was like Ozzy Osbourne. Remember, like they're trying to get his music banned for Suicide Solution, and people were
playing it backwards. Remember that we'd play it backwards.
Yeah, and that was great. Remember the Beatles album, right? Paul is dead.
Yeah. Paul is dead. Well, number 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how they would have reacted if she was into hip hop music. You think it would have gotten the same kind of reaction?
Probably.
I don't know.
How dare you? That's the thing. You can't. That's the thing I don't like. Like we're talking about that with comedy. There's certain I've said this just before all this happened about a year or two ago. You can make fun in comedy. You make fun of black people, white people, Jews, fat people. You can make fun of everybody. But you can't make fun of gay people. And that was the thing. It was you can't do that. Until gay people started making fun of gay people. Yeah, I mean,
I make fun of gay people.
And like you mentioned, that's what Steve Marshall says. He goes, "That's what this country's about. You come here so we can make fun of you."
Yeah. If we don't make fun of you, then we don't. That means we don't like you.
Yeah. We just think you're an asshole.
Yeah, we never mention you. We really hate
There's
you.
nothing funny about that. Nothing funny. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, who gives a shit what the principal does? Why are we looking at what kids do? Okay, fire her if the kids are failing their LSATs and all this other shit. Their testing scores are
And
gone.
what people do on their own time? Come on, dude. It's like, it's one thing if she was shooting up. She's just like, she's doing the medal sign against a poster of Eddie, like from Iron Maiden. Come on, man, that's ridiculous. That's some bullshit right there. Let people do what they want to do in their own time.
Absolutely. Again, you're going to fire if you're going to fire somebody for liking Iron Maiden, then you're setting a precedent that you should fire somebody because of their sexual preference. Then you should fire somebody because of their ideology. Then you should be able to fire somebody.
Yeah, it's not like she was listening to Barry Manilow. I mean, that I would understand. You know
get rid of that.
then it's okay. Then you got a point.
Yeah, instead of playing the national anthem in the morning or the Star Spangled Banner, she's playing the Flight of the Icarus.
She's not bringing it into school. Like, come on, man.
She dresses.
She should play in the locker room. That'll get the football team going. I'll tell you. That's what we listen to.
Man. Yeah. That's great. Die with your boots on.
A
great story. Actor killed on stage during opera at Moscow's Bolshoi Theater.
When I heard the title, I assumed that the audience killed the guy, but that's not what happened. That's not what happened. It was an accident.
Yeah.
Some shit fell on him and crushed him while he was on stage. But the way they write the headline was like, the guy was killed. I thought because he did a bad performance or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a tragic story, but I'm gonna be honest with you. That's where I'd love to go. Doing what you love. I mean, I don't want to be crushed by anything, but I know there was a famous comedian that had a heart attack on stage, and like there's been things that have happened like that where people died in the middle of something. I don't know. I think it's like he's doing his passion, and he died doing what he loved. So I think that's not the worst thing.
It was Dick Shawn, and it happened when he was on stage.
They thought he was joking, right? They thought he was kidding.
Joking, and nobody came to help him because he used to do something like that during his act. He'd fall on the floor. So he fell on the floor.
Red Fox too was on he had the sitcom after Sanford and Son, and he was actually having a heart attack, and he was known for always doing that as a joke, and then he really died on set.
Oh my God! Do you think Red Fox, when that was happening, was going, "Oh shit, I better not do the same thing"? He's like,
he's like, "No, this is real. This is Elizabeth. This is a real thing."
Albert Brooks's father. They used to call him "Park Your Carcass." He died at a friar's roast on the dais. Yeah, so it happens.
Wow.
It happens.
Well, that is interesting. If you're going to go,
not the worst thing.
Yeah, if you're going to go, right, at least go when you're doing what you love, right?
Yeah, doing what you love, right?
It'd be better than like going on Spirit Airlines or something. You know what I mean? Like you want to go like in a place where you love. You
definitely don't want to die after going to a shitty gig. Nobody shows up. You get heckled.
Yeah.
You're staying in some shitty comedy condo.
Yeah.
You're like,
or die. Yeah, or die in line at the DMV. Like, there's so many horrible places, that you could die. Like, stage is pretty cool.
Absolutely. And our last story of the day, battle-hardened Taliban fighters enjoy a day off at an amusement park.
I saw that on TV. These guys with machine guns on bumper cars. It was ridiculous. It looked like one of the films that I would make for the Weekly World News. It was such a bizarre.
I mean, you gotta let off steam, It's like,
Ahmed, after we get off bumper cars, we go hang 3 people for being gay. Okay, good. Let's go get some popcorn.
Well, they used to do strip clubs. So I guess now they've moved a little more family friendly. So,
they're in Florida. Those guys who flew into the Twin Towers, they were in Florida strip club, and I think I may have remembered them once. I remember some of those because they were in that same area, like the Cheetah 3 they went to, and the Booby Trap in Pompano. Kabul, strolling casually with their machine guns in hand, Hamidi and hundreds of fellow Taliban fighters enjoy a rare day off at the popular water slide. Water slide. Could you imagine they're going down with their full fucking outfit,
holding their guns, not in bathing suits, dressed in their battle fatigues.
Hey, Moma, are you going to the wave pool?
The lazy river. These are the lazy river.
The Taliban floating in start jihad. He'll start jihad after Lazy River.
or as Joe Biden calls them, the Taliban. You ever, how come no one ever corrects him? He says the Taliban. Doesn't he hear that no one else in the world says that? Taliban.
Listen, I can only hold back so much. He's a complete fucking moron. He's brain dead. He's a puppet. And it's just disgusting what's happening.
Right, that's a good way to close it out. Thanks, Jeffrey. Thanks. You know better. You know where Dougie's brain goes. You know better. Why would you drop that right then? You know what he's going to do. I don't mention politics with Dougie ever because I know where he's going to go. I'm just like, it's good.
Don't get me started, goddammit.
I know better. That's why I don't do it.
You always have that conversation with somebody. It's like a couple times agreeing with somebody brought it up, and I'm like, all right, Doug, just don't get into it. Just hold back. Just shut the fuck up. You know, I mean, I made a political post a few weeks ago, and a well-known comedy club, very well-known comedy club owner, just unfriended me on Facebook. I knew it had to probably do with something like that, you know. Yeah. And I reached out to the person. I said, listen, I was saddened that we're no longer friends on Facebook and stuff, but, you know, I just hope that we could still be friends and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, it was, you know, whatever. And I said, you know, I'm not making any more posts on Facebook. If I do, I lose $1,000 by 2 people. So we'll no longer have that. So there you go. Well, that's all we have time for here on the Wake and Play with Dougie show. I want to thank you for all attending the Biden hate hour.
All right. I'm a Ross Perot guy. I was so sad.
Oh my God, I love Ross.
That's the first person I voted for.
I voted for Ross Perot.
Yeah, I did too. I read the book and everything. I was so excited.
I mean, the same reason I voted for Ross Perot, the same reason I voted for Trump. He was an outsider.
Yeah, I get it.
Problem solver, you know, that kind of shit.
Just a bit reckless, but he could have reined it in a little. Oh, like, come on, just a little.
You talking about Perot or you talking about Trump?
Talking about Trump. Just a little. Just
in his presidency, everybody kept saying, if this guy would just pull that back a little bit, right? He'd end up, who the fuck knows what happened?
You got to know your whole audience, not just the left side of the room.
That being said, let's make some predictions. Do you guys think he will run in 2024? And if he does, do you think he can win?
I don't think he'll run. I think
he's going to fake it and push DeSantis in there because.
Well, DeSantis is better than him. I think DeSantis is a better version of him. So, you know, I think DeSantis has a shot, whereas I don't think Trump's cause it's too much collateral damage at this point. Even if Biden is an idiot or whatever, doesn't matter. It's too much damage.
Hey, Chris, we got Dustin recorded saying that Biden's an idiot, right, Chris? I just want to make sure. Okay. We're gonna put that just a clip. It's gonna be.
I didn't vote for either one of them. I voted for, you know, it's like, but I mean, technically, I voted for Biden because if I knock my girl up, I need an option. I don't trust Republicans. I need to know I can get an abortion if I need to. That's you know. I'm Native American, so you guys are all like, you're all immigrants to me. So I don't believe in your ideology at all. Yeah. You came to my country. Get out. Everybody get out.
Go back where you came from, dude.
And Biden changed Columbus Day to Indigenous Day. So
yeah,
I'm into it.
It's your day today.
I'm into it.
Yeah, let's all get a squaw and scalp the fuck out of somebody. Hey, come on now.
Easy, Tiger, easy.
I love it. I love it. I love the American Indian plight. Trust me. Anyway, like I said, that's all we have time for. Jeffrey, what do you got coming up? What are some things you want to promote?
Well, I think my 2 happiness books, my 2 books that are bestsellers on Amazon, I'll hold them up. One is called Healing Your Heart by Changing Your Mind, a spiritual and humorous approach to achieving happiness. That was the first one. This one is called Fight the Fear, Overcoming Obstacles That Stand in Your Way. And it's, you know, we're all engulfed in fear, man. So when this came out, it came out as a #1 release in about 5 different categories. And so that's what I'm putting time in. I have a 3rd one coming out very soon called Facing Adversity, but I'll tell you about that the next time I'm on.
Very good.
So those books are available on Amazon as an ebook, as an audio book, and as a paperback.
Paperback, right?
Thanks, Dustin. Good to be on with you.
Dustin?
Yeah, well, follow me on all the social media at Dustin_Chafin. Go to my website for tour dates in LA. I'll be at the Roosevelt Hotel performing this weekend. I'm on tour with TJ Miller and also with Nate Bargatze. Check out those dates on my website. It'll be coming up soon. And yeah, I got 2 albums that are out there. And also, I'm doing this thing called Right Club, where we interview people, famous comedians, and then we people from the industry. This time around, I have like Laurie Kilmartin, Rick Dorfman, and all these great comedians and actors. And then we write certain nights, and then we kind of do a Q&A with these people. So it's kind of this kind of just the advanced level of kind of, you know, comedians trying to get better. It's not a class. It's more like just comics helping each other. We tag each other's bits, and then we get to hear some of the best talk to us. So that's called Right Club. Check that out. You can go to my Facebook page. Check it out.
Very good.
Sounds great. I forgot to mention my Comedy Matters TV channel. So thanks for reminding me, Dustin. I forgot all about my YouTube channel.
You can't go back in on your credit.
Yeah, what the fuck?
You had your 3 minutes. Yeah, come on. Hilarious. I love it.
Comedy Matters TV.
Comedy Matters TV. Check it out.
Comedy Matters. I'm into it.
There you go. And as for me, I'll be at the Fort Wayne Comedy Club this weekend, Friday and Saturday, headlining it. Please come out to the show so I get paid. That's all I gotta say. Just show up and follow me at Dougie Dangerous on Instagram and on TikTok at Funny Fiduciary, which is exciting new stuff coming out eventually with some. You mentioned schools, but maybe looking at doing APCA work where you're not doing comedy in colleges, but I'm doing seminars on financial planning and the importance of wealth preservation.
That's great. That's what it needs. That's what we need.
But that's all, guys. Thank you so much for watching us. Don't forget to follow our show on Twitter at Wake Up Dougie and on Instagram at the Wake Up Late with Dougie Show. And join our fan pages on YouTube and, of course, our channel on YouTube and, of course, our fan page on Facebook where this airs every week on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Thanks, guys, so much for joining us. Miss you guys both. Hope to get to see you soon.
Yes.
And be good out there, fellas. And we'll see you next time right here at the same spot. Take care, America.
Woo, lazy river.
Thanks. Come on, Dustin. Take care.
No jihad. Let's just float the raging
Jihad, lazy river.
Wake up! Wake up!